Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Conspiracy Crunch.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm Aaron Chandler.
I am Blue Murphy.
Thank you for tuning in once again.
I'm sorry, we're running a little late today.
Yeah, that's 2 days in a row I've been late to the studio now. I'm slipping.
You are.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how many we've got left now.
Not many.
There may only be one more after this, I think.
Oh, sad times.
Yeah, because 31st of May is a bank holiday, which means next week will be the last week.
Oh.
Ah. You know what that means?
What?
Pigeons.
Pigeons. It's pigeon time next week. Oh my god, yes. I've been so excited for this. I've been pestering Aaron to write the script for the pigeons.
Since about 3 episodes into season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a problem. I really want to cover this. It's one of them daft stupid ones, but it'll put a smile on you guys' faces.
Yeah, we'll do it as a double episode. Like, I want to do Oumuamua as well. For those of you who know what that is, you'll know it's a really interesting space one, but we've done a lot of spacey ones recently. So this week we're not doing space-related ones. This week we are looking at the unsolved murder of Bedgebury Pinetum.
Whoa.
Just a clarification, Bedgebury Pinetum is not some weird upper-class person's name. It's a place.
Sure?
It's a place.
Okay. Just for clarification.
Yeah, Bedgebury Pinetum is a woodland area in Kent in the southeast of England. And we will be looking at a unsolved murder which happened there over 40 years ago today.
Dun, dun, dun.
So let's go into the background.
Yeah, I'll start. So on the 23rd of October, the 23rd of October 1979 should have been just another uneventful day in the rural English county of Kent. But as the day unfolded, it would prove to be anything but uneventful. In the early hours of the morning, a horse rider was making her way through the woodland paths of Bedgebury Pinetum Forest when she made a startling discovery. In the undergrowth, just off the main path, she spotted the body of a woman. Police were notified immediately and the area was established as a crime scene. What some at the time were expecting to become a cut-and-dry murder case eventually transpired to become one of, if not the biggest mystery of southeastern crime ever. The horse rider stated there had been little obvious effort to hide the body. It was clearly visible from the path.
Yeah, after several efforts at the crime scene, police were not able to identify the body despite DNA samples being abundant within the perimeter of the crime scene and a murder weapon being available on scene. It's really unusual for a murder weapon to be found that close to a body in like any instance. But yeah, the woman had no purse, bag, wallet or any means of identification on her. The weather had been surprisingly dry and sunny for a British October, meaning that a lot of evidence at the scene hadn't been washed away or damaged by rain. Despite the body being in plain sight off of one of the most popular horse tracks, police estimated that she could have died up to 5 days prior to the discovery. The active nature of the case prevented several national news companies from covering the story, meaning media coverage of the case was surprisingly limited. In fact, the case didn't get proper media coverage until as late as 1984, so that's 5 years after, when it was featured on an episode of the BBC show Crime Watch. The show appealed for friends, relatives, locals and witnesses to come forward and make a statement on either the case or the woman's identity, but neither happened. The woman's identity remained a mystery.
So now we're going to take a quick look into the Bedgebury Pinetum woman. Because we have never been able to identify the victim, she is commonly referred to as the Bedgebury Pinetum woman. Due to the nature of her injuries, police could not identify her at the scene of the crime as previously mentioned. As a result, police decided that the best way to identify her was through describing the distinct nature of her clothing. When discovered, the Bedgebury Pinetum woman was wearing black shoes, a black and white floral patterned smock dress with a white belt and gold buckle, a yellow blouse and a black polo neck jumper. The distinctive dress was homemade from furniture fabric and purchased second-hand. That's a quote from Robinson and Freshwater in 2021.
Yeah, so 2021 quotes, it shows how predominant this case still is.
It's still about
people
this
still
year.
talking about it now.
So police also believe that she was 4 to 6 weeks pregnant. We're just going to put a quick trigger warning here for later on in the show.
Yeah.
If you had like problems with pregnancy and what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I mean the fact is about an unsolved murder should insinuate that there's going to be sensitive topics, but we are just going to specify that there are sensitive topics.
But yeah,
Yeah.
She had given birth to at least one child in the past and was of Eastern European origin, assuming that she had emigrated to the UK but couldn't confirm this for obvious reasons. The homemade black and white dress was supposedly purchased in a charity shop and had been repaired by hand on several occasions. This led police to believe that she was poor or possibly from the north of England, which added even more mystery to the case. If she was a northern resident, then how did she end up in the southeast?
Yeah, it's very mysterious, but it sort of starts to unravel a bit as we go further in. The idea she came from an extremely poor background was strengthened when post-mortem examinations concluded there was strong evidence she had never visited a dentist in her life. This is highlighted by the visible decay of her teeth. However, the dental examination showed that she was at least 30 years old due to the presence of wisdom teeth. Personally, I don't think the wisdom teeth alone is enough to suggest that. The other evidence is what accumulates to her being roughly that age. I mean, my first wisdom tooth came through when I was about 16.
Yeah.
So,
I've never not known someone not have them, like, about the age we are now.
Yeah, it's a more common thing for people to get them in their like early mid-20s. It's rare for someone to get it as young as I got it, I know, but like if you're gonna get wisdom teeth, you've normally got them by the time you're 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the dental examination didn't match any known records in the country, which strengthened the idea that she had never visited a dentist, at least not in the UK anyway. A lack of significant carbon deposits in her lungs is also used as evidence to suggest that she is from a rural background and lived away from a city. According to the Doe Network file, for those that don't know, the Doe Network is like an online database for missing people and unsolved murders that you can go onto, and if you have evidence for these cases, you can contact them with the reference number and give evidence. So according to the Doe file, she was most likely of no fixed address at the time of her death and could have ended up in southeast after hitchhiking along motorways. Her height was recorded to be roughly 5'1", and the time of her death could have been anywhere between the 18th and the 23rd of October, which again is in line with the police report saying she could have been dead for up to 5 days. Yeah. Further attempts to identify the woman were launched in 1998, 1999 and 2007, but all of these cases proved to be unsuccessful and she remains unidentified to this very day.
See, it is possible that she was in the UK as an illegal immigrant. This would explain the lack of identification on her body, the lack of a fixed address, no relatives coming forward to identify her, no dental records and having no medical records on NHS databases that matched her DNA.
So to clarify the sort of profile we've got for the woman here, she's an immigrant, a homeless immigrant living in the north of England, quite poor, not very well off, bad dental hygiene, a suggestion that she was quite poor and couldn't afford the dental fees because obviously NHS don't cover dental practices once you turn 18. And then also she was a mother of at least one child, as is suggested. But now we're going to go on to the actual trial that arose from this. After the case had been left on the shelf for decades, it was revisited in 1998 after a new method of DNA identification was commissioned by police across the UK. This method of DNA identification was used on archived evidence and was able to yield new results of evidence from these cases. The new method was able to pinpoint DNA strands in samples as small as a single flake of skin or even just one drop of blood, which is a huge development compared to what they had in when the case originally happened in the late 70s. The result of this new evidence led to the official reopening of the case almost exactly 19 years after the murder happened. Yeah, an arrest in 1999 of a local lorry driver named Harry Pennells followed shortly after. At the time of the arrest, Pennells is 75 and retired, meaning he would have been 54 at the time of the murder. His job as a lorry driver was consistent with police evidence that suggested she was a hitchhiker on motorways and could have ended up in southeast after hitchhiking a ride with someone, presumably him, as the case may be. Pennells was also one of the initial suspects when the case began in 1979 to 1980 and was interviewed by police on 3 separate occasions during the initial investigation. The plot thickens even more when samples originally taken from Pennells' cab were matched with DNA taken from the Bedgebury Pinetum woman when re-examined in 1998.
The trial began on the 4th of May 2000 and brought a host of new evidence to the case. For example, the original creator of the victim's dress had been tracked and identified as a woman from Stratford-upon-Avon. After the case which was featured on the BBC's Crime Watch again in 1999, she came forward and said she was the creator of the dress, but gave it to a charity shop in Evesham, Worcestershire. After this point, it is impossible for police to trace where the dress went. The court was also informed that DNA matching that of the victim was found on a sleeping bag retrieved from the cab of Pennell's lorry. This included dead skin cells, strands of hair, and even blood. Similarly, foam particles found on the dress of the victim matched those taken from Pennell's cab.
Yeah, so the prosecution accused Pennells of picking up the victim on 20th of October 1979 before completing a delivery in Keighley, West Yorkshire, which isn't too far from here.
No, it's not.
No, and returning to South London with her still in the cab. From here, the prosecution claims that he killed the victim and left the body at Bedgebury Pinetum on the way back to his home in Ticehurst, East Sussex, before it was discovered on the 23rd. In response to this, Pennells confirmed to the court, that he had in fact picked up a hitchhiker named Margaret on his way to Keighley and that she could have been the victim, but claimed that he dropped her off in South London as she said she was meeting friends in Dover. Obviously, Dover's a complete opposite direction to him heading to East Sussex, so he just dropped her off. The defence justified this by saying Pennells owned the sleeping bag but let the woman use it while she was in his cab. He regularly slept in the cab during long journeys, which explained why he had a sleeping bag in the first place. On top of this, forensic evidence from the original case justifies the presence of blood because the victim's pregnancy had failed. Again, trigger warning there. Yeah, and she had been bleeding for a few days as a result. Post-mortem people believe that she would have been suffering from pain in her right side, which would have led her to suspect she was suffering from an appendix issue.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. The defence stated that all evidence against Pennells was just consequential and that these were no solid evidence against him. This claim was strengthened when two independent eyewitness accounts claimed they saw the victim at a public house in South London on the 21st of October, which according to the prosecution was the day after Pennells supposedly murdered her. So again, that narrows down the possibility of it being 5 days to just 2 days, which is quite significant.
It is a big change.
Yeah.
If you think about it, what can be done in them 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. And other accounts say that they saw the victim, and I quote, in the lorry depot at Keighley, Bradford, with Mr. Pennells of her own free will. This suggests that she didn't feel threatened or like her life was in danger. Obviously, she wouldn't be around him in her free will if she thought he was going to kill her. According to North York's Inquirer, and I quote, there was an innocent explanation for all the forensic evidence and two witnesses confirmed she was still alive after Mr. Pennells is alleged to have murdered her. Hence, no doubt, the reason the jury unanimously cleared him after 1 hour and 15 minutes of deliberation. That is almost no time at all in a court case. Sometimes they can take up to a day to decide.
Yeah,
and
sometimes it can take even longer, and if you think 1 hour and 15 minutes, that's a very short amount of time.
Yeah, the fact the court case itself was 4 weeks long as well, and they still only deliberated for a little over an hour, kind of shows how unanimous the evidence was.
So we've also got some other theories to look at as well. So clearing Pennells of all charges brought a new issue forward for investigators and prosecutors. If he didn't do it, then who did? It seemed like the answer to this question may be staring everyone in the face. It is believed by some investigative journalists. You didn't write that properly.
Oh yeah, investigate journalists. That's my fault, everyone, sorry.
And independent investigators, that the real culprit for this murder was none other than the Yorkshire Ripper, Peter Sutcliffe. Much like Pennells, Sutcliffe was a lorry driver who frequented motorways and consistently travelled the length of the country. The victim is also believed to have been from the north of England, specifically the Yorkshire area, where Sutcliffe was most active. Also, she was murdered in 1979, while Sutcliffe's first murder was in 1975, and he wasn't apprehended until 1980. Sutcliffe was charged for the murder of 13 women and 7 further accounts of attempted murder, but was the Bedgebury Pinetum woman the unofficial 14th victim of Sutcliffe? Sutcliffe's modus operandi is also consistent with this case in terms of victim profile, time and method. The location is the only setback for naming Sutcliffe though, as 11 of his 13 confirmed murders took place in Yorkshire, with the other 2 happening in Manchester. It is possible that Sutcliffe picked up Margaret from South London with the promise of taking her to Dover, only to instead take her to the Bedgebury Pinetum. The final setback is the specific location of the body.
Yeah, before we go into that, it's worth mentioning that the woman referred to as Margaret, because it was like 19 years later, and for Pennell's, it was literally him just picking up a hitchhiker, by his account anyway.
Yeah.
It obviously didn't ingrain in his mind that much. He said her name was either Margaret or Marjorie, but in the case of the court, they assumed it on Margaret.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, Bedgebury Pinetum is a very rural area and few main roads run past. I always struggle with that word, rural.
Rural.
It just sounds like I'm just going like rural. But yeah, Bedgebury Pinetum is a very rural area and few main roads run past it. The closest road to the body's suspected location is little more than the bumpy dirt track even today, so there is no way Sutcliffe could have been able to manoeuvre his HGV down this road. Also, the road is mostly unmarked and was overgrown at the time, meaning as a Yorkshireman, Sutcliffe would not have the local knowledge to firstly find this road or secondly know where it led. However, the exact location of the body is an issue of mere speculation now, as generation of work from foresters and tree surgeons have all changed the landscape of Bedgebury Pinetum. Even official crime scene photographs leave uncertainty as the landscape has changed so much since they were taken. The upgrading, introduction and removal of other tracks in the area over the years also leaves a lot of possible routes undiscovered. But Pennell's, unlike Sutcliffe, would definitely have had the local knowledge to know the whereabouts of the track, as he lived in Ticehurst in East Sussex, which is less than 4 miles away from Bedgebury Pinetum. On top of this, the issue of fitting a HGV down the track wouldn't have been an issue for Pennell's with his home so nearby, as he could have easily moved the victim into his own personal car, which would definitely have been able to fit down the track. However, there is no confirmation from the original report that any evidence at all was taken from Pennell's personal vehicle, meaning there is no way to prove it. Similarly, there's no way to disprove it either.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it's a very interesting story. I mean,
It is.
personally, I feel like it's definitely one of those two.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it being
Yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
so many links between. I mean, I know they've
mm,
been like kind of shunned under the table. Like,
yeah,
Nope. But
yeah, yeah. There's
I think there's too many things that's too coincidental.
yeah, this is like police forensics are always taught that there's no such thing as a coincidence.
Mm.
And when you're looking at Pennell's, who coincidentally picked up a woman from Yorkshire who coincidentally was untraceable,
Yeah.
and he was coincidentally seen with her 2 days beforehand, and then coincidentally she was found dead 4 miles away from his home.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah, it does sound suspicious. But we can't ask any of the people involved now, obviously, because Sutcliffe died last year.
Yeah.
Pennell's, I'm not sure if he's alive, but he would be 96 now, so it's probably safe to assume that he's not.
Yeah.
And obviously we can't ask the victim either.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, it's likely that we will never actually know.
Which is.
Yeah. It's a shame, because like you think that I hope that in the future, at the very least, we're able to put a name on the woman.
Yeah, it would be nice
Yeah.
to finally give some clarity to some family.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, it's the amount of appeals that have been put out for this. Like the police originally, they put out appeals to other police stations looking for crime reports. They put out reports to orphanages to try and find the child that she had had. They couldn't find anything. They put reports out to hospitals to see if they could find any reports, and nothing came back. They put in reports to immigration officers, again, nothing, which again strengthens the idea that she's an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
But it's like she just fell out of the sky.
Yeah. Just like
Yeah.
1 minute she's here and then poof.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. And the other thing I don't get about this is I think the original like media blackout on it, because of how sensitive the case was, did do so much damage to it
Yeah.
in the end. Like, because you think there was no proper coverage of this until 5 years later. By that point,
So much
a lot of
left
people
out.
who could have been witnesses had totally forgotten about what they'd seen.
Yeah.
So much evidence had been missed by that point as well. Like, police, it's all very well, like, say if something happened today, and 5 years later someone asked me about it, I wouldn't be able to remember all of the details of it.
No.
It would be ridiculous to expect someone to. But then again, like, even now, it's getting more speculation now probably than it did when it actually happened. Like, I mean, I grew up in East Sussex. I grew up about 10 miles away from Bedgebury Pinetum. I had never heard of this until about 2 years ago. Yeah. The first I heard about this was on the 40th anniversary in 2019.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd never heard about it before that.
Jeez.
And I think I was living in Huddersfield by 2019.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. But it's ridiculous. It's like one of the real baffling unsolved. The fact it happened in an area like Kent, where so few cases like this have ever happened, makes it even more standout.
It does.
It's genuinely one of the most unanswerable murder investigations potentially in British history.
It's insane.
Yeah, the fact that we had, like, they had him.
Yeah.
They had him in court in 2000. They were so close to it, and then they didn't do it. And then even if it wasn't him, they got Sutcliffe. He was in prison. He had nothing to hide at that point. They could have just gone, "Did you kill anyone else?"
I mean, I doubt he would have given it away. It might have extended his sentence.
I mean, he was already. I think it wasn't until 2010 that they updated Sutcliffe's sentence to say that he would be in prison until he died.
Oh.
Yeah. Because originally he was given, it was 13 life sentences.
Yeah.
But obviously we're not like in America, where in this country if you get 13 life sentences, it's the same amount of time as one. Whereas in America, if you get 13 life sentences, which is I think 30 years to life, you will get 30 times that.
Yeah.
Which is why you get ridiculous things of people getting sentenced to like 400 years in prison or something in America. Just say life. Just say life.
Yeah.
It's a joke's on them when he walks out at 425 years old.
Turns out he's a vampire after all.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. We've been doing shorter episodes lately because as some of you already know, I'm doing a master's degree this year, so that takes up a lot of my time. I'm writing a book as well on the side. I've got a lot going on, so trying to squeeze writing this in once a week is a bit of a task at the moment.
Especially when it's like coming up to deadlines as well.
Yeah,
it's a pain trying to get everything sorted in time. But we still wanted to make sure we kept the content coming out. Yeah, because we know the days are numbered now for Radio HUD for the 2020 to 2021 year. Yeah, I think it will be a short one. Yeah, I think the 28th of May is officially our last day of broadcasting. Oh. Yeah. Which I've got a deadline due on that day, actually. Oh, nice. Yeah, great. Just to top things off. Yeah. So 28th of May will be the last day for broadcasting. Past that, we've got Radio HUD show of the month. Trying to steal the spotlight, are we?
No, it's no. The reason I said AC Rock Reviews, that's my other show, and I'm going to be doing a 3-hour special to finish it off because AC Rock Reviews I've been presenting that since I was 18 years old, and I'm now 23, and it's going to be the last ever one next week. You are old. So, yeah, it's going to be the last ever show of AC Rock Reviews on Wednesday next week. 3-hour special. Tune in if you can. Aww. Yeah. Let's go support him, guys. Yeah. It'll be good to listen on for his last one. Yeah, it seems weird to say, like, the last ever one. Like, it's going to be the last ever one of these next week as well. No. Seems so, I don't like to think about it. I think we should do a recap of like all the conspiracies we've covered as like to go with it. Like after we've done the pigeon thing, just go through all of them and rate how believable each conspiracy is. That would actually be a brilliant way to end the show. Philadelphia experiment is going rock bottom. I can't think of a less believable conspiracy. And why don't we put it up to the people listening? I don't know how many people actually listen, but let's get the listeners' perspective maybe and have them do a little rating. We could do an eliminator tournament on Facebook or something. That would be good. Yeah. So let us know your opinions, guys. We do love hearing them. Yeah, so we'll do that. Rohan Codex better win, by the way. Just saying. Rohan Codex and JFK in the final. That's how it better pan out. Pigeon's going to come out number 1. Yeah, right. Support Pigeons, guys. Yeah, okay. But yeah, that is the end of the show for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it's been great to present, as always. And we'll be back next week with pigeons. Pigeons aren't real, guys. Bye. Yeah, bye. See you soon.